everybody, and welcome to the Civic Center in Erie, Pennsylvania, as we get set for Admirals hockey on this pleasant evening right here on AM 790 WTAR. I'm Pete Michaud. I'll be on board for the play-by-play tonight. Pat Shetler at my side, and it is playoff time as the Admirals and the Erie Panthers will go one-on-one. And as I mentioned in the open, the Admirals coming in here playing some hot hockey. They have not won a tremendous number of their most recent games, but the last game is the one that counts the most, and the Admirals closed out the regular season with a 6-3 win on home ice over Nashville on Wednesday night at Scope. Don Gagne had 2 goals in that victory. Certainly an emotional contest for the Admirals, and they are ready as we get set for the playoffs. But this Erie Panther team, certainly a red-hot club. They have won 12 consecutive games. They were co-champions during the regular season of the East Coast Hockey League with 38 wins, only 16 defeats, and 16 overtime losses. They, however, are the number 2 seed coming into the playoffs because they lost a head-to-head confrontation in terms of the season series against Winston-Salem. So Winston-Salem goes in as the number 1 seed, and they will open up the playoffs this evening at home against number 6 Nashville. Meanwhile, number 4 Greensboro plays at number 3 Virginia. Well, I mentioned that the Admirals have never won here at the Erie Civic Center. In fact, they are 0-4 on the season. But remember this, Alain Raymond, the outstanding goalie, who was just recently named the first-team All-Star goalie for the East Coast Hockey League, was not with the club for any of those games. Alain was spending some time in Baltimore with the Skipjacks, but he is back with the club, and he will be between the pipes here in Erie for the first time this year. Meanwhile, his counterpart, the second-team All-Star goalie for the Erie Panthers, is Craig Barnett. He has a 23-9-6 record, best in the ECHL this year, so we could have a dynamite shootout between these two clubs with some outstanding goaltending, certainly going a long way in determining tonight's victor. Just what will it take for the Admirals to come out on top and win this game? We'll talk about that and much, much more when we join head coach John Brophy after a 60-second timeout. This is Admirals hockey on WTAR. John Brophy, and John, we're ready for the playoffs to begin, and your team comes in here playing on the road in this very first playoff game, but certainly looks like your team playing with an awful lot of emotion after that regular season-ending win over Nashville.
Well, I think it certainly helped us, but I think the fact that you're playing the playoffs should give you some emotion. If we're not, you got emotion now to play, we were dead. But I think we get lots of emotion, and I think it was a positive point, certainly, to play hard that night, and it was a good game for us, and I'm sure everybody's ready to play. We're playing a team that hasn't lost in 12 games, but playoffs, again, are a different story. But I think that if we play our game and play strong like we did that final game, I think that we'll have every chance in the world to beat this hockey club. I certainly would like to win both games here, but if you do get a split, we need one of them, that's for sure. It'll certainly be great to have 2 of them.
John, let's talk about this playoff format, a best-of-5 series, and being the lower-seeded team in the tournament. In essence, you're going on the road, and if it goes 5 games, you have to play 3 of the 5 away. Does that make the first game on the road particularly maybe more important than some of the others?
Well, I don't think any of them is any more important than the other one, but I think that to get a good start on any road trip, and it's just like a road trip to us, it's good to win the first game. And but when you win them, we need 3, and when we get the 3 of them, it doesn't matter. But the number 1 thing is we got to play well here tonight and play hard to establish the fact that it's going to be a good series.
John, you played in this building 4 times during the regular season and lost all 4 of those games, but certainly a different factor here this evening. Alain Raymond is back, and that means that stat can basically be thrown out the window, right?
It usually can be. Like I said, it's a new season, and but the best goaltender in the league playing for you in their building. It's a mental pickup for us, that's for sure, but it's also a mental situation for them. They haven't played against them. They've never done well against them when he was at home. Even in the shootout, they didn't beat him, so you give Alain Romain a chance to see the puck, he's got to stop it. And the big thing is here for us tonight is to make sure we shut them down. We can't get into a freewheeling game with them because that's what they want. They got an excellent scoring hockey club. On the other side of the coin, we can't be too defensive either. We got to put something in their end. But right now, we're going to start out putting 1 man in and picking up the 2 guys because we need help in our end, and we can't have guys stuck up in center ice and them working inside. So we're going to have to try to play a tight checking game against them, especially at the start, and then see what happens, because I don't figure we can open up right off the start and start to get into a shooting game with them, because I think they have lots of confidence. They do have a lot of scoring in their hockey club, but like I said, give Alain a chance to see the puck, he stops it. And the deal is here is to cut down the second and third shots against them.
John, talk a little bit about the goaltending. Of course, Ramon named first team the ECHL this year, while Craig Barnett of Erie was named the second team All-Star goalie. Might we be looking at a low-scoring game here?
Well, I don't know. I hope so. I mean, you never like to get into a shootout game or a big, wide-open game with anybody in playoffs, and playoffs aren't that way, but sometimes it happens. The only thing about that is if you come out on the top end of a shootout, and again, we're going to try to shut them down at the start of the game and see what happens from there. There's no shootout at the end of the game. If a game is tied at regulation time, you just go into a 20-minute overtime, and whoever scores the first goal has the game. So we're ready to play and eager, and it's nice that you got a good feeling starting here now because it's a new excitement, and we can't wait to play.
John, let me ask you a final question before I let you go. This team goes into the playoffs without your captain, center Murray Hood, in the lineup. He led the league in assists this year. What sort of an impact is that going to have?
Anytime you take your top scorer out of a team, it's going to have an effect. But we got picked up a couple of players to try to replace him. We not going to replace Murray Hood, but we got to work a little harder. Other players at our hockey club, it's the old story again. It's got to take up the slack that he would provide us, and we got to work a little harder, and that way you might be able to keep a few down and see what happens.
John, thanks a lot. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
That's John Brophy, head coach of the Admirals, joining us here on our pregame show, and we'll come back to the Erie Civic Center in Erie, Pennsylvania, with more as Admirals hockey continues in 60 seconds on 790 WTAR. Back in Erie with Admirals hockey here tonight on 790 WTAR, as the Admirals, boasting of a record of 29-29-2, fifth place in the East Coast Hockey League, open up the playoffs against the Panthers of Erie, 38-16-6. This game one of a best-of-5 series. Game two set for tomorrow night right here in Erie. We'll have that one for you as well, beginning at 7:15 also. And then the club back home for game three on Tuesday night at Scope. Game four, if necessary, also at Scope. And then game five, should it go the distance, would be right back here in Erie. Let's check the starting lineups in tonight's contest. First for the visiting team, the Admirals of Hampton Roads. And starting on the defensive ends for head coach John Brophy tonight will be David Buckley. Buckley, in fact, will be the captain this evening, with Murray Hood sidelined for the remainder of the year. Buckley, the 6'4" defenseman out of Massachusetts, has scored 39 points this year, 6 goals, and 33 assists. At the other defensive position will be Darren Bannister, a newcomer to this club. He has 2 assists and 2 points since joining the Hampton Roads Admirals. On the front line for Hampton Roads at a forward spot will be Kent Hawley, a player from the Philadelphia Flyers. He had 1 goal in Wednesday night's win, 11 points on the season. Don Gagne, certainly a fan favorite, will be starting at one of those other forward spots. Gagne, the right winger, with 35 goals, 20 assists, and 55 points on the year. Don had 2 goals in the Wednesday night win over Nashville. And also on that front line will be Dennis McEwen. He has 25 goals, 22 assists, and 47 points scored on the year. And between the pipes once again, starting in goal for the Admirals will be Alain Ramon, a first-team All-ECHL pick, a record of 20-13-2 in 35 outings, and a 3.83 goals against average. Now the starting lineup for the Erie Panthers, starting on the defensive end. At one spot will be Steve Winke, 7 goals and 19 assists, 26 points scored on the year. At the other defensive spot will be Ryan Kumu, 5 goals, 30 assists, and 35 points this season. On the front line, at the left winger spot will be Grant Ottenbright, 25 goals, 44 assists this year, and 69 points. He is among the team leaders. Also on that front line for the Erie Panthers is Bill McDougall. He's an outstanding right winger, also a first-team ECHL pick. In fact, he led the league in scoring during the regular season with 80 goals and 148 points. He will be at that right wing spot. And starting in the middle at center will be Daryl Harp, 11th in the league in scoring this year with 72 points on 28 goals and 44 assists. And starting between the pipes for Erie this evening will be the second-team All-League goalie, Craig Barnett, 23-9-6 on the year with a 3.93 goals against average. And for the first time this evening, I'll bring in my color commentator on the night, the Red Whistle, Pat Shetler. And Pat, I was just talking about the goalies, Alain Raymond for the Hampton Roads Admirals and the Erie Panthers with Craig Barnett. Certainly two outstanding goaltenders. Might this lead us to have a low-scoring, maybe a defensive game tonight that could be decided by one goal?
I think it really could be. The goaltending has been tremendous in this league this year, and Raymond is just playing super since the stint that he's spent up in the American League. And I think it's going to be a big plus for both teams. They both have good goaltenders. The Panthers topped the league with 357 goals this year. There was 105 more goals than the Admirals scored, and they have their 252. So it shows that the Panthers are explosive when it comes to scoring goals, and the Admirals are just going to have to do the same thing tonight because they're just got to take that away from them.
Now, of course, the Admirals will be going without Murray Hood, the team captain, the East Coast Hockey League's leader in assists on the season. He is out for the year with mononucleosis. Certainly a tremendous void to fill, and I'm not sure if the Admirals can do it. How do you counterbalance that sort of a loss?
Well, we have the two new players. Number 8, of course, Mark Vachon is playing. And Rob Kraus, number 16, he's a new player for the Admirals tonight. And it's hard to fill a gap like we've done there, but it can be done. And I think the defensive power is going to be there for the Admirals tonight. They have 5 defensemen, and that's something we haven't had all year.
This Admiral team coming in a little bit difficult to read. And they've won only 4 of their last 13 games, but on the other side, they're coming off that tremendously emotional win over Nashville on Wednesday night at Scope by a score of 6-3. So although they haven't been winning a lot of games as of late, they seem so fired up and really feel they've got what it takes to win this series against a team that tied for first place during the regular season.
Right, I think it's going to be a big thing for the Admirals to come in here. They must take that first game, I think, Pete, in order to get the momentum going for tomorrow night and get the 2-game win to go back into our scope on Tuesday and Wednesday night of next week. It's going to be a big factor for the Admirals to get in there and score right off the bat. Trevor Jobe is going to be playing center tonight, and he works well with Martin in there, and he's a goal scorer. The Admirals are exploding out of their gate, as we talked about before. They're coming out here as if they really mean business, and they're going to tonight. Because it's a new season, really, altogether, Pete. It's like things are all even so the Erie Panthers have placed second in the league, and we've placed 5th. We're both number 1 right now, and we're both trying to win that game.
Let's talk a little bit about this Erie Panther attack, certainly spearheaded by the outstanding right winger Bill McDougall, who set league records this year in both scoring and goals. In fact, he shattered the previous league records. He set a new goal mark by 35 goals this year and a new total point mark in the league by 26 this season. Do you do anything special when you're playing a team that has such an outstanding offensive player as Bill McDougall?
Well, you know, as you were saying, 80 goals and 68 assists with 148 points. The fellow's very explosive. I don't know why he's still here. I think that the American League would have grabbed him up for the National League. I think probably the only thing that's against him is his size. And they're starting to get the big brutes in the National Hockey League now. So anybody that's 5'9" or under hasn't really got much of a chance to take a position up there. But he's an explosive scorer, and we're going to notice tonight, as soon as he gets that puck, the Admirals have to be on him. They have to backscape with him. They have to check him very closely. And you can't get him loose around that net at all, or he's just going to pound it in.
The Admirals and the Panthers tonight were getting set for the opening face-off in Game 1 of this best-of-5 East Coast Hockey League playoff series. We'll be back and continue with more from Erie after a 60-second timeout. This is Admirals Hockey on WTAR.
This year, U.S. Air will have 70,000 more departures than Delta, 120,000 more departures than American, 400,000 more departures than United. In fact, this year, U.S. Air will have more departures than any other airline in the free world. So if we sound like an airline that's really taking off, you don't know how right you are. U.S. Air, America's most frequent flyer.
You're an aerial advertising pilot, and your name is Carl Seat of the Pants Buns?
Not Buns, it's Burns. It's got an R in it. Gee whiz.
We want to advertise Texaco gasoline.
Easy, we get a banner that says Texaco flyer right behind
Texaco's new System 3 gasoline.
Plain. See, the thing about aerial advertising
With
is this.
more power from every octane.
What?
It can help restore power to older cars,
Yeah?
and it helps keep new cars running like new.
All that on the banner?
Yes, how much?
$1 million?
Dollars?
Sure, first off, I'd have to go buy a B-52 or
A
something.
B-52?
Just to pull the banner. I mean, that's going to be a long sucker.
Texaco's new System 3 gasoline. It really is that good. Honest.
Civic Center tonight as we get ready for the Admirals and the Panthers. Pete Michaud along with Pat Shetler. And had this Admiral team lost all 4 times they played here during the season, and they weren't exactly a great road team, going only 10-19-1. But as you and I talked about on the lengthy trip here to Erie earlier today, winning the first game when you are the visiting team in a best-of-5 series could perhaps be the most pivotal of the entire series.
Yeah, I think the Panthers are thinking they're going to just walk over the Admirals since they've beaten them 3 times here before. But it's going to be altogether different tonight. As I say again, we're starting off even, and we're ready to start, I guess, Pete.
Erie shoots to the goal to our left. The Admirals will go to our right. And here's the opening draw won by the Hampton Roads Admirals. As David Buckley flips it down into the far side corner, the puck goes around the net, and Barnett whips it around to the near side board, where the Admirals will keep it down as McEwen knocks it back down behind the net. Can't track it down, though, and Barnett sends it around to the near side board once again.